Imagine being imprisoned unjustly, separated from your family, uncertain of your future, still finding the strength to write words of hope and divine instruction. That's exactly what Joseph Smith did from Liberty Jail. In Doctrine and Covenants, section 123, the prophet doesn't just lament their sufferings, he calls us to actions. He teaches us about accountability, the importance of documenting truths, and our sacred duty to stand against oppression. This section reminds us that even in our darkest moments, the Lord has work for us to do. So here's my question for you. How can we apply Joseph Smith's call to waste and wear out our lives to bring to light hidden darkness, gathering important knowledge in our day and in our circumstances? Hello, brothers and sisters. Welcome back. My name is Kevin, and I am an elder in Israel. And today we got a wonderful section, Doctrine and Covenants, section 124. In this section, we are going to be seeing what we should be doing with our history. Should we be recording it? Should we be, even the bad stuff? Today, we have such remarkable ways of recording our history. Look at on YouTube. Look up, type in LDS Michigan attack. You will find countless Latter-day Saints doing a video on that attack. This is recording our history. It is every Latter-day Saint's duty to record our history. And we're going to learn about that today. Starting off, this section is the third section in a row that was done during Joseph Smith's time in Liberty Jail. And I can't even imagine what the conditions would have been like for him at that time. If you think about it, they were without their families. They were treated horribly. I heard one thing, and I don't know if this is true or not, but during their stay, they were given meat and told them that was Mormon meat. In other words, that was meat from a Latter-day Saint that had been killed. Now, I don't believe this is true. I don't think that the prison guards were that cruel. It's just one thing I've heard, and it's disgusting to think even something like that would be true. All right, starting off. Now this one is unlike section 22 and 21. This is still part of the letter, but this is Joseph Smith writing. This isn't a revelation. This is instructions given to the saints by Joseph Smith. He says, starting at the beginning, and again, we would suggest for your consideration the property of all the saints gathered up a knowledge, consideration the propriety of all the saints gathered up a knowledge of all the facts and sufferings and abuse put upon them by the people of this state, meaning Illinois, Missouri. In Missouri, okay, they've had in so much injustice. Give me 1 second here. On the Gospel Doctrine app, let's see, where is it? Go up at the top. Joseph Smith recorded it. It says that in Church History, Volume 3, Joseph Smith himself recorded stuff. And here's just a small amount of them. The saints were driven out of the town of DeWitt. Saints driven from Adam Undi Ammon. Saints murdered at Hans Mill. Far West sacked and pillaged. Livestock stolen or shot. Apostates plunder. Now this one is mind-blowing. Apostates plundered the saints. Here in Church History, Volume 3, page 215, it says, during our trial, William E. McClellan, accompanied by Burr Riggs and others, at times were busy in plundering and robbing the houses of Sidney Rigdon, George Moray, and the widow Phoebe Ann Patton, and others, under pretense of color of law, on an order from General Clark. Some other things that happened was armed conflicts, arms confiscated. And the last thing listed here is lands confiscated. Now, Latter-day Saints at this time had more than $200,000 worth of property that was taken. $200,000 worth. So, putting in an inflation calculator, the value of $200,000 in roughly 1838, if we were to put it today, that would be an equivalent of $5,142,476. That's how much property was stolen from them. It's hard to believe that amount was taken. Verse 2, he continues, and also the property and amount of damages which they have sustained, both of character and personal injury, as well as real property. Not only that, in verse 3, Joseph Smith is instructing us the names of all people that have had a hand in their oppression as far as they can get hold of them and find them out. Sometimes they couldn't find them out because they hid their faces like cowards. And then he tells them, and perhaps a committee can be appointed to find out these words, to take statements and affidavits, and also gather up the libellous publications that are afloat. Now, in a video it's from Bomb Socks. It's called Bombites, episode 1422. In it, he points out one thing, and I thought this was amazing. Doctrine and Covenants section 123, verses 5 through 10. These are unlike any other verses you will read in all the scriptures. And I encourage you to go and read them. Okay, coming back. Verse 5. And in all that are in the magazines and in the encyclopedias and all the libellous histories that are published and our writings, and by whom, and present the whole concatenation of diabolical rascality and nefarious and murderous impositions that have been practiced upon this people. Now, if you've noticed, from when Joseph Smith was translating the Book of Mormon, he didn't have a good command of the English language. Here he is writing these words. His vocabulary, his everything has grown. And due to having a good education from the time the Book of Mormon was published to now, he sought out education in all ways possible. Hebrew was one of his favorite subjects. Now, just in case you don't know what concatenation is, the dictionary refers it to as a series of interconnected things or events, or the action of linking things together in a series. It's extremely fascinating. I mean, I still have a hard time understanding what's being said with that, because I'm sorry, but I'm not a highly educated person. But the fact that he's telling us to put all these things together, it's something important. We need to have a history written down. Now in verse 6 he continues, that we may not only publish them to all the world, but present them to the heads of the government in all their dark and hellish hue, as the last effort which is enjoined on us by our Heavenly Father, before we can fully and completely claim that promise which shall call him forth from his hiding place, and also that the whole nation may be left without excuse before he can send forth the power of his mighty army. Now, Parley P. Pratt and others had published such records. Unfortunately, I had a hard time finding them, but I remember years ago reading that they had actually published a series of books on this. Continuing, verse 7, he says, "It is an imperative duty that we owe to God and to angels, with whom we shall be brought to stand, and also to ourselves, to our wives and children, who have been made to bow down with grief, sorrow, and care under the most damning hand of murder, tyranny, and oppression, supported and urged on and upheld by the influence of that spirit which hath so strongly riveted the creeds of the fathers, who have inherited lies upon the hearts of the children, and filled the world with confusion, and has been growing stronger and stronger, and is now the very mainspring of all corruption, and the whole earth groans under the weight of its iniquity." Well, what spirit is it that's causing all this? All this persecution, all this hatred, all this... It's the same spirit that first tempted our father Adam and Mother Eve in the Garden of Eden. It's that same spirit that turned Cain to the son of perdition. It's that same spirit that sought Moses' life. It's the same spirit that sought to take away the life of Abraham and Jesus and Moses. It's that same spirit that took Jesus up onto the temple and tempted him. It's also that same spirit that sought to destroy the prophet Joseph Smith during his first prayer. And that spirit is the spirit of Satan, Lucifer, He does not want the gospel to grow. He will feed lies to people to keep them from finding out the truth. In verse 8, we continue. It is an iron yoke. It is strong band. They are the very handcuffs and chains and shackles and fetters of hell. The lies that were found in the creeds of the Christians symbolically are handcuffs, they're chains, they're shackles. We Latter Saints, listening to verse 9, he says, it is an imperative duty. Remember, duty, this is important stuff we have to do, that we owe not only to our wives and children, but to the widows and the fatherless, and children, but to the widows and fatherless whose husbands and fathers have been murdered under its iron hand. Okay, continuing on. I'm going to skip 10 because verse 11 and 12 is where I want to really get to. Also, it is an imperative duty that we owe to all the rising generations, to all the pure in heart. Do you see that? Even today, it is our duties as Latter-day Saints. It is our duty to the future generations and to all those who are pure in heart, who are seeking truth. Verse 12. For there are many yet on the earth among all sects, parties, and denominations who are blinded by the subtle craftiness of men, whereby they lie in wait to deceive, who are only kept from the truth because they know not where to find it. Even in this day and age where truth is out there, we have the truth. We have countless YouTube channels from all of our prophets and apostles, from Joseph Smith to today. We have all members of the church who are out here publishing the truth. And yet, we still have people looking. How do we know that people are finding the truth? Last year, 900,000 people joined the church. You heard me right. 900,000. This isn't just arbitrary numbers. This is not including baptisms. At least from what I've found, this is not baptisms. Or this is not children being baptized into the church that were raised in the church. This is people who have found the gospel. This is not the dead that we baptized. This is not the numbers. I have no idea what those numbers are, but I'm sure I can guarantee you one thing. They are greater, by far, than the mere 900,000 that joined the church while alive on this earth. Verse 13 tells us, therefore, we should waste and wear out our lives in bringing to light all the hidden things of darkness, wherein we know them, and they are truly manifest from heaven. I love this little phrase. We should waste and wear out our lives to bring to light all the hidden things of darkness. That is absolutely beautiful. It is true. We should constantly be out preaching the gospel, calling out wickedness. Their National Geographics did a poorly done article on Joseph Smith and how he changed Christianity here in America. I didn't get a chance to read it because they charge you to read articles. And I don't have that money. I would love to be able to read it. I would have fun dismantling all the lies that they tell. But one of the comments really hit me hard. It shows the spirit of darkness that is in people today. And it's getting darker and darker. And it reminds me of comments that were made at about Charlie Kirk's death. This comment was, Joseph Smith deserved a bullet in the head. How evil, how deprived of a person does it take to say that someone deserves to be killed? He had done nothing wrong. He had been teaching truth, even if they didn't agree with his religious beliefs. Joseph Smith didn't deserve to die. Charlie Kirk didn't deserve to die. Continuing on. He says, therefore, these should then be attended to with great earnestness. Verse 15. Let no man count them as small things, for there is much which lieth in futurity pertaining to the saints, which depends upon these things. Now, if you're not sure about the word futurity, if you look at it, it looks like the word future. Well, that's exactly what it's meaning. A future time, a future place. In other words, it's saying, let no man count them as small things, for there is much which lieth in the future pertaining to the saints, which depends upon these things, upon recording our history, upon seeking out the darkness, the persecution that we have endured, publishing it to the world, recording it in our own private lives. Now, this next one, beautiful physics. I love it. You know, brethren, that it is that a very large ship is benefited very much by a small helm in the time of a storm, by being kept workways with the wind and the waves. In other words, keeping it to going to where it will not topple and where it will not be pushed around by the waves. He finishes this section. Therefore, dearly beloved brethren, let us cheerfully do all things that lie in our power, and that we may stand still with the utmost assurance to see the salvation of our God, and for his arm to be revealed. Brothers and sisters, it is imperative for us to keep a record of our lives, of things that's going on in our lives. This isn't something easy for many of us to do, myself included. For me, it's hard to record a history of what goes on in my lives. When it comes to the written word, I don't have great writing acumen. I don't have the writing abilities that we see many of the writers, or so my way of doing it is here. I thank you, brothers and sisters, for joining me. I love you guys. I pray for you. And I hope that as we continue our walk with Christ together, that we may continue to learn new truths that God has prepared for us, whether in our personal lives or as a church itself. God is not done teaching us. We've got much to come. And I say these things in His sacred name, even Jesus Christ. Amen. Have a wonderful Sabbath day tomorrow.